This Glasgow team really came of age today. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. First of all, let me say what a fantastic, entertaining game of rugby this was. I've said it before, it doesn't have to be like, you know, 5 tries each or whatever, or 6 or 7 tries, 40 points to 39 or something like that for a game to be hugely entertaining. And this is a hugely entertaining game. No scoring, but the tension was all there through it. You could see both teams really wanted that win. They wanted to get to the final, both putting their bodies on the line, fighting over every ball, every scrap, every inch, and it just came made for just a classic semi-final, really. Now we're going to talk about the game, and then we'll talk about some of the stats, and then the individual teams as well. So Munster putting a lot of pressure on the opening 10 minutes. They're forcing penalties, but they're camped on the Glasgow line. Can't get over though, and I think Glasgow were conceding more penalties, but Munster still couldn't find a way to the try line, and it was a really brave and important defensive period from Glasgow as well. Richard Gray does go to the bin for repeated infringement, and Crowley pops over a penalty for 3-0, and we're finally off the mark. But they forced Munster to take the 3 points rather than going for the try, and in how the game went from there, that proved to be a really good thing for Glasgow, because from here Munster weren't ahead for pretty much the rest of the game. So fantastic, I think, from a Glasgow point of view there. Then well, I think Munster, they were ahead like for a short time, but not really. What I'm talking about is if Munster has scored and then they score another try, and then Glasgow don't have that possibility of scoring to actually take the lead, but they did, and I think that was crucial. So Glasgow, they get a bit of a ball, looking to come forward, but then Byrne gets over the ball and gets a turnover. Munster line out though is struggling, and that was it felt even at that stage that could be an area where Glasgow are going to see some joy, disrupt that Munster line out, and just take away one of their strengths from them as well. Take that platform away in terms of either going to the maul or going off the top as well. And once you start taking those away from teams, you reduce their options, and then you make them more predictable. And I thought Glasgow did that really well today. But then on the flip side, Munster were applying huge pressure in the scrum, but Glasgow managed to turn it around later on in the game as well. But Munster, they get back within 5 meters of the line. Lockman is carrying well, but great defence from Glasgow, and Munster off their feet and concede a penalty. And I really believe that defensive effort from Glasgow in those opening, kind of quarter of the game, really was, we'll talk about the tries later, but really was kind of where they won the game, because Munster could have easily been in for a couple of tries at this stage. The game, frantic, frenetic, thrust and counter thrust. It's low scoring, but highly entertaining, as I said. And then just at the end of the yellow card period, we do have the first try of the game. Munster spreading the ball around about halfway, but they're just kind of going across in front of Glasgow, not really probing for gaps in the defence or stretching that line at all. And then there's the mix up between Frisch and Nankivell. Ball goes to ground, and then Stain gobbles it up, and he's away and goes under the post from halfway, converted for 7 points to 3 by Horn. And I don't know. Sometimes I think the way I think about rugby is just completely different to other people, and there's some things that don't quite make sense to me. And maybe I guess I probably am in the wrong. But for me, deciding to start Frisch and Nankivell together in the centres didn't make sense to me. I know they've been a great pairing earlier on in the season. But both are coming back from injury. I would have rather had like one on the bench and one starting, and then have the likes of Sean O'Brien or whoever has been starting regularly in the centres in there instead for a bit more continuity, and then bring the other off the bench for a bit of impact. And the same for Leinster today as well. I would have rather have started Osborne and then brought Ringrose on for impact off the bench, because again, I talked about before how Leinster lacked impact from the bench. But yeah, I guess I'm wrong on that. I guess you just, if someone is the better player, you just throw them into the starting lineup, whatever. And a lot of the time it comes off. You have to be fair on that. But for me, yeah, to kind of just the two of them, the fact that they're both coming back meant that maybe the partnership wasn't there. And talking about like partnerships, Jones and Tuipulotu were brilliant today, but they had as well kind of the back end of last season, in the World Cup and after the World Cup as well. They weren't quite clicking as a partnership either, but they're back to where they were. But it shows again, like, players, they need time together and they need to sort out, when things aren't working for them, they need time to work on it. So again, maybe again, it's probably just me being stupid or whatever, but I just thought it was strange just to throw the two of them back in together, given that, basically one of them was coming straight back into the team, the other had only played one game. But we're at 7 points to 3 there. And then Glasgow, then they go over the top from a line out on the halfway. Tuipulotu puts Cancellieri through a gap and he's away. And, it was going to be a try, but the throw is not straight. And obviously Glasgow had spotted something in that midfield as well that they could exploit. Not necessarily about the personnel, just about how Munster defend the tail of the line out. So from here then, Daly puts in a great hit. Glasgow, spreading it in front of their own 22, and the pressure then forces a knock on. It's a good position for Munster with the scrum, and scrum goes down. Casey goes to pick the ball and he knocks on, and already I'm thinking little moments could be crucial as the teams are wrestling for momentum. If he just is a little bit calmer maybe and just gets that ball out, maybe Munster can reset from there. But then Munster, they do manage to work some space for Zebo on the left, but Hugh Jones with a great covering tackle and puts him into touch. I thought Zebo was well marshalled, given what good form he's been in recently. Then Wycherley lifting a leg in the maul, and it's just a cheap penalty that allows Glasgow to clear out of their own 22. And both teams are making errors, but it feels at this stage that Munster's are more costly, given that they had the extra man, and every time they're doing something like this, they're taking time off their own clock, and also just giving their momentum back. And then at the end of the half, then it all happens. So Munster first attack off a line out. Crowley goes through a gap. Jordan then strips the ball and Glasgow go on the counter. Then we have a bit of handbags. We then have a yellow card for Matt Ferguson for a high tackle on Peter O'Mahony. And halftime score is 7-3. And, it's been a real belter of a game, and it turned out to be a belter of a game the whole way through. Into the second half then, Mackay with a great carry return for Glasgow. And when they win a penalty, they decide to go to the corner. And it's Munster with the extra man, but they're defending their own line at this stage. And Glasgow go back to the corner for another penalty, but Munster do nick the line out, and Peter O'Mahony just hoofs it clear to a massive cheer. But the worry is that Munster aren't offering so much too much in attack, even though they have the extra man. Byrne then gets over the ball, wins a penalty turnover. Glasgow, they've done well, running down most of the yellow card period. There though, they spent so much time in the Munster 22 just running that clock down. They didn't get a score, but they're almost out of jail. Glasgow then apply pressure with ball in hand and they force a penalty. Horn then drags his kick across the post, and it's 7 points to 3. Jordan then starts a counter attack. Glasgow, they pick holes in that Munster defence and they put it through the hands. Hugh Jones shows just great pace, and they get over to score in the corner. Horn converts from 14 points to 3, and Munster need a response. And I was actually right earlier on when I said that Munster never got themselves back ahead. I wasn't sure the timing of the middle tries there, but yeah, from here, from 3-0, Munster never get back ahead, and that's crucial in these types of games. Is the mindset when you're a few points ahead is so much different to when you're a few points behind, and for Munster, Thomond Park, it suits them to be that if those few points ahead, because that's when the crowd really comes in and helps them. And the crowd were fantastic today, but it when you're losing like that, it almost puts extra pressure on you, and you get more mistakes then. But Frisch then makes a break through into the 22, and they're on the close to the Warriors line, but then Darge gets over the ball and wins a penalty, and that was a vital intervention there, because Munster were looking to respond straight away. Maybe if they had, they might have, might have been a little bit different. But from here, then Munster come back. Snyman half charges, then a kick. Peter Manny gets the loose ball first. Then Snyman offloads to Lockman, who goes galloping for the line. He gets hauled down, but Munster recycle, and Casey puts Frisch over in the corner. The conversion for the touchline seems hugely important, and Crowley nails it for 14-10. Munster now need to do all that again, though. Again, they needed to get ahead, and that's the way these kind of games work, is that when if you don't get ahead, then you eventually the opposition is going to get a chance to tag on a penalty or get a try or whatever, and then you're looking for Hail Mary type stuff towards the end of the game, and that's not where you want to be in the semi-final. But Glasgow on attack, Tuipulotu with a great carry, then Coombs is pinged for offside. Glasgow up the line. Jordan, his kick actually falls short to O'Brien, and chance is gone. But then Snyman not retreating out of the 10 after a poor kick, and it's another penalty to Glasgow. Munster, it just feels like they're giving them chances, and Glasgow are going to take one, and then that's going to be the game gone. That's how it felt at that stage. Game was back and forth, errors creeping in on both sides, and whoever can hold their nerve is going to that final. That's the clearest thing you can see at this stage. The game, has become a huge arm wrestle. Both teams look to work it into a position where, either that score to get them back in it for Munster, or that score to seal it for Glasgow. Warriors on the attack, and there's a knock on the tackle from Munster. They win a penalty at the scrum again as they turn that around, and then Jordan puts a nice kick up the line into the 22. A try here, and Glasgow definitely in the final. Another penalty. Munster get a warning about the discipline, but then the TMO check is a dangerous clear out from Nankerville. It's direct contact to the head. It's reckless, and it's a deserved red card for him as well. I think the referee absolutely got that right. Munster down to 14 for the rest of the game, and even though there was only 7 minutes left, as I said in commentary, if potentially had it gone to extra time, he would have been gone for that. So that was the importance of it being red rather than yellow, but it was absolutely deserved to be red. Fine. From here then, Horn uses every second on the shot clock. Really smart from him, and then strokes it over for 17 points to 10. About 5 minutes to go, and Munster, they need a converted try. Daly breaks up the wing, and Munster, they're looking for some momentum. There's a penalty for no release. Munster, they go up the line, and they got the line out on the edge of the 22. Byrne claims the line out. The Maul's going forward. They decide to go to the backs though, and they make some headway. Then Snyman he tries an offload, and I can't remember who it was. One of the I think replacement front rowers or something spills the ball forward. Scrum to Glasgow, and you feel like at this stage that could be it. There isn't that much left. Scrum is obviously reset a couple of times, and tension is building. Glasgow then they get it out of the scrum. Munster attack the rucks, trying to get anywhere near the ball. They can't. Glasgow doing really well with that, and then they get it off the field. It's 70 points to 10, and Glasgow are off to the final. So let's have a look at the stats, and then we'll have a quick chat about the teams as well. So first up, tries is definitely wrong. These official stats, I don't know what's going on with them. Let me try refreshing and see if it's any different. Well, the difference is it doesn't show me anything. All right, let's see there. Okay, so no, still wrong. Okay, so tries anyway was 1 for Munster and 2 for Warriors, and I felt obviously the first one from Stain was from an error, but Cancellieri's one in the corner was pure class from Glasgow, sorry, and just showing the two ways, well, two of the ways that Glasgow can hurt teams. Obviously, we didn't see a maul try today, but don't be surprised if you see one in the final. Possession then 53% for Munster, 47% for Glasgow. Clean breaks 7-6, and defenders beaten 16-20. But it felt like with Munster, even with the clean breaks, there wasn't that support for the ball carrier really for them to turn into much more than a break. Offloads then 12-6, and again, I think Munster could have done with a few less offloads a day. Honestly, it was kind of a day for keep it tight and make sure you actually hold on to the ball rather than take risks. Territory then 53-47. Then number of tackles 153-169. Missed tackles 20-16. Tackle success 88 from Munster is decent. 91% from Glasgow is really, really good. Turnovers 1 then 8 each, and both teams, it was back and forth, and some really good turnovers from the likes of Byrne and Darge as well for both teams. Kicking then, kicks retained just 1 for Munster and 3 for Glasgow, and kicking didn't have a huge impact on the game, but Glasgow definitely had that little bit of edge in it. Penalties conceded then 13 from Munster and 11 from Glasgow, so Glasgow just about on the right side of the referee, and it kind of went in bursts between the teams. They seem to concede penalties to the point where they got warnings from the referee and even a yellow as well for consistent infringement. Then successful carries 6 for John Hodnett, and then Sione Tuipulotu 8 for the Warriors. Clean breaks 3 for Hodnett, and Hodnett's a great player, but he's not the one that you really want to be making the most clean breaks for. You'd want it to be the likes of Nankivell, Frisch, Zebo, etc., or Daly or whoever, or Haley at fullback. Kyle Stain then 2 for the Warriors. Defenders beaten 4 for Jack Crowley. Again, the 10 beating a lot of defenders is nice, but then it means that especially with the likes of Crowley, sometimes he get isolated because maybe people aren't expecting him necessarily on his own team to run the ball, and maybe the support isn't there. 5 for Tuipulotu, and then meters made Anton Frisch 53, Kyle Stain 100. Offloads 2 for Frisch and 1 for Dempsey. Then on defence, number of tackles, Jack O'Donoghue with 17, Xander Ferguson with 19, huge shift from him. And then turnovers 1, 3 for Tyke Byrne and 2 for Rory Darge. As I said, the two kind of standouts at the breakdown. Okay, so let's talk about each of the teams then. So for Munster, they came into this game as, I think, the form team in the URC, hadn't lost since, the 1st of January, and, really were like the favourites to go on there and contest the final to retain their title. Glasgow, though, controlled the game for the most part, I felt. Line out for Munster wasn't great, and even though, they were on top in the scrum early, Glasgow again managed to turn it around. Attack didn't really fire from them either, and, when tight rugby was called for, too often, too many unnecessary risk with offloads and tip-on passes and stuff. And again, it was against a very solid Glasgow defence as well. The reign as champions is over, but it feels like, this Munster team aren't done. They're going to bounce back from this. Glasgow then, they came with a plan, implemented it, brilliantly. Pressure led to Munster mistakes, and they capitalised. When they're ahead, when they're ahead, and then or to get themselves ahead, and then they squeezed when they're ahead, squeezed that game and made it so difficult for Munster. I thought they handled the 2 yellow card periods superbly, and then the centre pairing of Jones and Tuipulotu went really well. Wings put in a massive shift as well. Jordan went well at 10. Darge, it was outstanding. There's so many players like I could name from them. I'm not going to go through the whole team though. But replacement front row definitely deserves huge credit as well. And now they go to Loftus, and basically I think they've got to ensure that this wasn't their final. They've now got to step up, and go again down in Loftus.